land where faith is strong and hope is precious, where prayer rises like smoke from churches, homes, and street corners. Some men learn not how to heal pain, but how to perform it. They called him prophet. They called him chosen. They called him man of God. They believed his voice carried heaven. They believed his hands carried power. They believed his words could change destiny. But behind the microphone, behind the shining robes, behind the shouting of miracles, was not a messenger of God, but a man who learned how to sell belief. He stood before crowds that were tired of suffering, tired of hospitals that gave no answers, tired of bills they could not pay, tired of praying into silence, and he understood something dangerous. When people are desperate, they're willing to believe anything that promises relief. He pointed into the crowd, naming secrets that sounded like heaven's whisper. You, in the second row, your heart is heavy. There is a woman here. You lost something precious. There is a man here. Pain has followed you for years. Gasps filled the room. Tears flowed. Faith froze. But heaven was silent, and the words were borrowed from hidden notebooks, from whispered questions, from careful observation, from human weakness. What looked like prophecy was only performance. He learned how to read faces, how to pause just long enough for someone to step forward, how to speak in mysteries that could fit anyone's pain, how to let the crowd finish the miracle for him. He did not need angels. He needed attention, and the people gave it. The sick were brought forward, bodies shaking, eyes dim, pain written across tired faces, darkness painted as disease, fear dressed as spiritual attack, veins glowing in the imagination of the desperate, hearts burning with illness and anxiety, spirits screaming in shadows created by lighting and sound. And when he shouted, "Be healed!" when his voice rose and the drums thundered, when the congregation cried and the cameras zoomed in, the sickness vanished. Not by power, not by grace, but by design. Some were coached, some were paid, some were promised small money, small food, small hope in exchange for a great lie. Actors became testimonies, pain became a script, and miracles became merchandise. Each testimony brought more crowds. Each crowd brought more offerings. Each offering fed the illusion. And soon the church became a marketplace of miracles. But among the staged wonders, among the rehearsed deliverances, among the loud amens, stood the truly broken. A mother, holding a child whose heart was failing. Her hands were thin from giving. Her eyes were tired from praying. Her faith was all she had left. She did not need a show. She did not need applause. She needed a miracle. She brought her child forward, past the shouting, past the cameras, past the promises. She listened as the prophet spoke of destiny. She watched as he touched her daughter's head. She believed when he said, "God is working." She gave her faith. She gave her last money. She gave her hope. And she waited. But healing did not come. Not that day. Not the next week. Not the next month. Only silence. Her prayers echoed back to her unanswered. Her child's breath remained fragile. Her heart remained heavy. And she wondered, quietly, painfully, was God silent? Or had she been listening to the wrong voice? When the lie was finally spoken, when truth stepped into the light, the crowd disappeared. But the liar did not. Because deception does not retire, it relocates. A new city welcomed him. New streets. New faces. New pain. A new church rose with bright banners and bold promises. A new name. A new title. A new story. But the same hands. The same stage. The same hunger for applause and offering. Again the possessed fell. Again the dying stood and walked. Again the broken wept with hope. Again the world believed what it desperately wanted to be true. He spoke of demons. He spoke of curses. He spoke of enemies in the spirit. And fear filled the room. Fear that kept people from questioning. Fear that turned doubt into guilt. Fear that made silence feel like faith. But truth has a way of haunting the quiet. A young man, once hidden behind the curtain, once part of the machinery, once writing down secrets and preparing lies, could no longer carry the weight. He had watched the rehearsals. He had seen the payments. He had helped write the prophecies. He had watched the woman cry when her child did not heal. He had watched the poor give what they could not afford. He had watched faith become business. And at night, when the church was empty, when the lights were off, when applause had faded, the voices remained. Not the prophet's voice, but the voices of those who had trusted him, the ones who had come with real sickness, the ones who had come with real grief, the ones who had come with real hope, and he could not escape them. So he chose truth, not because it was easy, but because silence had become unbearable. He spoke the secrets. He revealed the tricks. He described the performances. He handed over proof. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with conscience. And the story spread, not as rumor, not as gossip, but as testimony. Testimony not of healing, but of deception. And one Sunday, as the prophet raised his voice for another miracle, as he prepared to call another name, as the crowd leaned forward in expectation, authorities walked through the doors. Not angels, not demons, but human law. The microphone fell silent. The drums stopped. The shouting ended. The stage lost its power. And the man who sold miracles was finally seen as only a man. Some cried. Some shouted. Some refused to believe. Some felt relief. And among them stood the mother, older now, tired still, holding a Bible, holding memories, holding unanswered prayers. She did not celebrate. She did not curse. She simply breathed. Because for the first time in years, she knew the silence was not from God. Faith is sacred. Hope is fragile. And truth, though quiet, is stronger than any performance. Not every hand that heals is holy. Not every voice that prophesies speaks for God. Not every miracle on a stage is a miracle in real life. But in the end, light always finds the lie. And when the lights go out, when the crowds go home, when the applause fades, only one question remains. Was the miracle real? Or was it only what we wanted to see?